everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into our Author Talks interview. I am Tia of Order of the Bookish, and today we have author Xyvah Okoye. Xyvah, please tell us more about your writing. Tell us about all the books that you have, because you have a few, and we would love to know more about your life in publishing.
Uh, Hello, Tia. Let me start with that. Thank you for having me on here. Well, as you said, I'm Xyvah. I did start off writing nonfiction and poetry, and now I basically just write fantasy, young adult and adult fantasy. I I started my journey in publishing a while back, but I only recently started taking it seriously. Eventually went on to do an MA in creative writing and publishing, which I've just finished. And yeah, I eventually started my own publishing company, have expanded to take on now we publish under 3 different imprints. I have associates, I have people that we collaborate with as well. It's been an amazing journey, but I guess it all boils back down to the book, really.
Yeah.
The book and the story you wish to tell.
So tell us about your first book, your first story, the first time you shared your voice with the world.
Okay, the first time I ever shared my voice with the world, it was actually with one of the books that became the Godseeker collection. The first book was Thy Will Be Done, which was about the will of God. This book has technically five books in one. The first time I ever shared my voice as an actually published something, it was Thy Will Be Done. I couldn't believe it. I was holding my book in my hand, and it was an amazing feeling. And that feeling is still something that with every single book you publish, it's like, I just want to hold it in my hand and make it feels real. Well, yeah, that was the first time I ever shared my voice with the world. At first, when I started writing, I did not write with the intention to publish. I was writing because it was what I was studying, and I was putting this thing together. And I just felt the leading to publish it. And I don't know if you're a Christian, but I'm a Christian, and I believe in the leading of the Holy Spirit. And I felt the leading to publish it, and I was like, it's not my calling, because at that point in time I was heavily into music, and it's like, yeah, my calling is to play the keyboard, play the guitar, not to write. I can't even spell. And yeah, I'm dyslexic, and growing up I've always struggled with spelling and writing and things like that. So I just thought it wasn't for me. Eventually, when I decided to publish it, I came up against actually finding a publisher. How do I do this? Finding an agent and things like that. I never queried it, because at that point I did not know how to get into publishing. But there was an author in my church who was self-publishing, and through that I came across self-publishing, and I was like, okay, this is a thing. So then I did the research.
It's a thing, yes.
And then did the research into self-publishing versus getting an actual publisher, getting it traditionally published, and then going with a vanity press. And I realized that I loved the process of publishing. I loved the control it gives you, being able to deal with every single aspect of the book. And so I decided I want to do this, but I don't think I'm skilled enough, so maybe I should go with a vanity press. And then I submitted it to them, and they were like, we love your manuscript, you don't have enough words. And I was
how many words was it?
I think it was 25,000 words initially, and it was like, yeah, we need more words, if not we won't have enough pages, so we can't publish it. And that was my first rejection. And that rejection made me feel like, okay, I'm just gonna do this myself then. And that was basically what launched me into actually taking up the mantle and publishing it myself. And then I did most of the books in this before I published my first poetry book, before I even came to fantasy. When I first started writing fantasy, or when I first decided to publish fantasy, it was a whole other ball game, because you would think, oh, publishing, I mean, they're all books, but you're stepping into an entirely different world.
Yeah.
With like, you're going from a niche nonfiction to poetry, and then you're coming all the way over here to epic fantasy, not
Those
just
are like
regular.
three complete different formats, different editing, different, like if you're doing marketing, three different audiences.
Exactly. Exactly. And it shocked me how different it was. Like, even my social media had to change, like everything had to change. Then I found Bookstagram.
I know you have two covers. Let's see them.
Yeah, this is the UK cover, and this is the US edition, the illustrated edition, because like illustrated cover edition, because apparently the US audience prefers illustrations to our,
we do. I do anyway.
Our basic formats. Yeah. So oh yeah, and there's a large print. I almost forgot. But yeah, so I decided to do Tainted. Oh, this is the large print edition of it. I decided to do Tainted, and I wanted to publish it. It was initially called The Age of the Anathema, which is the name of the series. I initially planned it to be a trilogy. It's not going to be a trilogy, but that was a plan. That was a plan. And it was going to be The Age of the Anathema was book 1. And things changed along the writing process. I finished my first draft, I edited it, I had the book in my hand, and then I sent it off to someone to critique it, and they were like, this is crap.
Oh,
so
okay.
So this was like towards the end of 2019. I wanted
rejection
to
number 2.
Yeah, rejection number 2, basically. And then I had to go back to the drawing board and rewrite and change things. So like, from the original draft, I changed character names, I changed not necessarily the plot, but the way I wrote it. I changed how it unravels, I changed the chapters. Like, the first chapter I ever wrote in the book is, I think it's now chapter 4 or chapter 5. And one of the last chapters I ever wrote is the prologue. So it changed a lot of things. Wow. And then in that space of time, I read as much fantasy as I could get. I watched YouTube videos, I read stuff on blogs on how to write fantasy. I got like writing materials and writing books on how to plot and how to tell a story and things like that. I followed loads of people on Bookstagram. And yeah, I just tried to learn how to do this fantasy thing, how to do the storytelling thing, and basically rewrote the book. Changed a lot of the characters for the better. I'm grateful I got the rejection, because it really made the story a lot better. It changed, my second rejection basically changed everything about book 1. The first cover I had at that point in time, I didn't really know much about publishing, which is, I mean, it was a dual journey. It was like, I was learning stuff about writing on one hand, and on the other hand, I was learning stuff about publishing. So like, it was like, I would get ahead in writing and fall behind in publishing, and then I'll just like catch up. And then yeah, it was a really interesting time. Still is, because I'm still learning. But that was really it with Tainted. I changed everything, and then I published it, and my initial cover was crap. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I really like it, but I know it was not good for the genre, because now I look back, it's like, that cover was more like a dark fantasy type, more dark fantasy, almost like borderline horror type cover. You can find it in some places online if you Google it. It's the blue cover with the eyes, the red eyes.
I'm gonna hunt it down. I'm gonna show everybody. I want to see.
I should have a copy somewhere, but yeah, the blue cover with the red eyes. And I really liked the cover, but it was terrible for the book. It didn't fit the book. So after publishing it, and I think I sold the same amount of copies as my family members. And I mean, my family, not everybody in my family likes books. So obviously there were those who were like, I'm buying it because it's you, but I will wait until the movie comes out. And I'm like, you know that not every book gets a movie adaptation. But yeah, so yeah, initially I was like, this isn't working. What am I doing wrong? And then I realized the cover was wrong. So then I changed the cover, and then I started seeing sales. But then there is this author, I don't know if you know her, she's Rachel Shade. Rachel L. Shade, she writes dragon books. Yeah, she writes dragon fantasy books, and she was one of the people who I really, really went to and leaned on during that time. And she would look at the cover herself, and Cassie Crowe. Cassie Crowe writes she writes dark fantasy and horror and thriller. But yeah, they were the two people I really went to with like cover ideas and things. And in the end, they were the ones who chose this cover, who were like, I think you can go for this one. And then Rachel was like, the US audience prefers illustrations, you know. So I got character art for art prints, but then she was like, you might as well just use it to cover. So then I did this, and to be honest, my UK audience reads this, and my US audience reads it, and they're very, very particular about it. Yeah. I didn't think they would be, because I really don't care, but they're very particular about it, which is why I still have 2 editions. But that was the publishing for me, learning these different things about marketing with social media, doing the cover design, what content to put out on social media, like how to talk about your book and things like that. Things I probably still don't do, but I learned all the same. But that was really the journey to publishing Tainted. There were a lot of hands in this pot, a lot of people who gave me advice, a lot of people who guided me. And when I did that, or when I went through the journey of getting this out, I realized that I would want to, like, there are other people out there like me who have no idea what to do. So I figured, yeah, I might as well just help them if they need help, which was part of why I opened up my company to be a company, an indie publishing company. Initially, it was just because there was this thing about, this article I read about indie publishing versus trad publishing, and like self-publishing versus trad publishing, and how people don't rate self-published authors, or when you see the book is independently published on Amazon, they don't want to read it. So I decided in my finite wisdom to buy ISBNs to publish my series in, and I had to buy them under an imprint. So I bought them under Chartersex as the imprint. When I started publishing, then I ended up starting an actual company, registering a company and running it as a company. And since then, I have met a lot of amazing people, a lot of other writers, publishers, illustrators, map designers, like cover designers, reviewers, editors. It's been amazing. And there've been so many amazing experiences. But now I think I have a better grasp of things. I feel a lot more steady. So my new book that is coming out in February 2024, I'm not so lost and insecure when it comes to like actually putting that book out or getting it published, because I think I now have found a balance. I have found a strategy for actually putting books out there and making books, and it's something that I've learned that I love. So my part-time job is my part-time job, and my full-time job is writing and publishing, pretty much.
So if you were going to pick one, publishing or writing, it's definitely the writing that you prefer?
Yes, definitely the writing. Definitely the writing. I think like the story, I would probably die if I couldn't tell the stories. I mean, even if I didn't publish them, I need for my own sanity to have them written.
I get that. It's very therapeutic to be able to like put your thoughts down on paper or even on the laptop, and just like it's like a release, like you're just releasing yourself into the world. Absolutely. It's therapeutic. I think that's amazing. So you have covered so much amazing information. Now, I really want to know, and I think a lot of the viewers who are going to watch this want to know, what are the pros and cons to publishing independently versus traditional publishing? And if you want to go a little deeper, between a small publisher and, a big top 5 publisher.
Okay, so let's start with the traditional, or as we're calling it now, legacy publishing. The pros of legacy publishing, you don't have to worry about the cost. I mean, and then they also have the connections for marketing, even though like they might not sell as, like, I have seen indie authors that sell indie books that sell better than some legacy published books, but than a lot of legacy published books, to be fair. But you don't have to worry about the cost of actually getting anything done. You get an advance in most cases, so you get a lump sum of money, and even if you don't earn it out or sell out, even if you don't earn out your advance, you still have that money and you still have your book. So it's and then if your book goes out of print, or the publisher decides not to publish it and the rights revert back to you, you can still go and do something else with it because it's now yours. Aside from that, and then maybe like the prestige of, I was published by Bloomsbury, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
How did it pick me up? Yeah. my books are among Tor's books. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
Aside from that, I think if you are a creative person and you love being actively involved in the publishing process, then I would say either go indie or self-publish. Now, self-publishing and indie publishing is not easy. It's not the easy option, because then you're doing everything that the publishing house does. And mind you, publishing houses have a team for book covers, a team for marketing, a team for editing, a team for like just author support and PR and things like that. And just how you also get put in touch with other authors who are successful, who have been in this industry for a long time. You make connections. You don't have that with indie or self-publishing. All of that is you. And if you have to make your own connections, you have to learn. Yeah, basically that. So I think it's not an easy way out, but then for the pros for that would be, you have 100% control. You meet a lot of people. There is so much fulfillment in holding a book in your hand and knowing, like, I made this, like from the words to the cover to everything, I made this. This is me. There's a sense of accomplishment that you don't get from being traditionally published, in a sense. And then you have full control of what you say, because with editing, I mean, as I work as an editor and publisher, there are things that people would put in books that they give to me, and I would edit them out. Now, if they were self-publishing it, yes, I'm doing it because I want it to be the best book it can be. I want the prose to be tight. I want the writing to be smooth. I want everything to work. But still, there are sometimes, like, I've dealt with authors who've gone back and forth with it. And one particular author, she was like, no, this is what I want. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not sure you should put it in there. Okay. And we agreed to be like, okay, you can put it in, but say it like this. That sort of, let it not be offensive. Let it not, which, I mean, generally should be in general. But basically, that freedom of speech is hindered because somebody else decides what you get to say. And it's like, this is your story, this is what you want to say, but I'm going to tell you how to tell it. But with indie or self-publishing, you don't really have that. Most indie publishing houses, or most editors that work with self-published authors will do more copy edits and line edits than those sorts of things. They would proofread, but they wouldn't take out things and say, okay, like, yeah, I don't think you should be saying this. You know, that I don't want, yeah, let it not come across this way. But I mean, everybody knows what they want to say. So it's getting behind the author and behind what the author wants to say, not necessarily how they say it, which is tricky. But anyway, with being a self-published author and indie, you have that freedom, you have that fulfillment. The cons, I would say, which is not really a con, to be fair, one of the major cons is the cost, because you're paying for everything. And yes, it's possible to have like a free cover, a £50 cover, proofread, like give it to your mom and dad to proofread. And, you know, those kind of, you can get away with getting a book out free. And if that is your budget, that is your budget. Nobody's judging your budget. Like, if that is where you are, don't feel like you need to spend thousands to get your book to a certain place, because as an indie or a self-published author, okay, as a self-published author, you can update this. You can change your cover. You can update typos. You know, like there are things that you can fix. You can publish a second edition of the book when the book is better. Like, these are things that you can do when your budget grows, when you grow as an author. But if you do have the budget, yeah, if you do have the budget, you're looking at thousands of pounds to invest in your book. And if you're like me and you write big books, like I think book 2, this is Age of the Anathema book 2, this is like 500 and something pages.
Wow.
If you have a book like this, editing isn't going to be cheap. Printing isn't going to be cheap. So like the book is not going to be cheap.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to foot the bill. And you can't skimp on costs. You can't really do that. So if you have the budget, you're dealing with the cost. I say it's not a con. It is a con for some people because they don't have the budget, or they have the budget and they don't know how to allocate it. Like, I made that mistake initially when I paid cover designers. I've thrown away hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Oh no.
Well, not hundreds of thousands, hundreds of pounds and thousands of pounds on book covers that I never ended up using, because I was just like, yeah, you know what? Just take the money, take the cover. I will try something else. Like, it just didn't work. But yeah, I say it's not a con, because if I was into golfing, let's just use golfing. If I was into golfing, I would have to buy my golf clubs. I would have to pay membership to my golf course place, wherever we go and play, like my golf club, and like go to the course, and I would have to spend time on that. I would have to buy the gear. I would, you know, like there are so many things you would have to pay just for that hobby. I play the guitar. I know how much I've spent on buying guitar strings, on buying new guitars, on changing, you know, like changing and fixing things, and buying guitar books and buying chords and buying, like, I know how much I spent on it, and nobody asked me to. So if I say I love books and I'm saying like, this is what I want to do, I want to make this, then the cost of making it shouldn't feel too much like a cost for me. Yeah, if you're doing it as a business, then please tally your costs. But if it's something you're just saying, okay, I love this and I'm just going to invest in it, it shouldn't feel like a chore. It shouldn't feel like someone is draining your blood to get you a good book cover. You know what I mean? You would save up for it naturally. You would save up to get a good editor naturally. So I think really that would be, and then another big con is like I said, you don't have the connections. But with Bookstagram and Book Talk, these days connections are free. Like, if you go on social media, you can make the connections. It will take time finding the right people. You would probably be scammed once or twice. I mean, it's a rite of passage. But you will eventually find your community. Using the right hashtags, following the right accounts, you'll find your community, and with time you will build the right connections. But starting out as a new author, it could be a hindrance, it could be a con. yeah, it could be a con as a self-published author that
Yeah.
you don't have the connections.
So thank you so much. That was really great. Yeah, we've covered your books and you have several out and you've hit several different genres. So you know the nonfiction audience, you know poetry, you know fantasy, and you've done publishing. So you know like the ins and outs and you know how to help authors. And thank you so much for sharing all of your tips and all of your advice and your life story with us. Truly incredible. We need to do another one of these very soon because I feel like there was a lot here that we sort of stumbled on and we didn't have enough time to get into. So we're going to do a few more of these interviews because I feel like you have so much more to share with all of us writers, indie authors, and with readers too. So thank you so much, Xyvah, for joining us. This was
Thank you
the
for
Author Talks
having me.
interview with Xyvah. Go ahead and check out all of her books. I'm going to put them in the comments and the caption. And thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Happy reading. Bye-bye.
Bye.